So I was supposed to do this video months ago, but I'm a pussy, so I didn't do it. And I was considering doing it this weekend when I had off from work, but I was in front of my window and the lighting looked really good, and I was like, now would be the best time to do it because I don't have to pull out the ring light, I don't have to do all the extra bullshit, I can just sit down and do the video. So I'm gonna do the video. You're probably gonna hear a fan because I live on the second story of an apartment building and it's really fucking hot and I'm in front of my window. Not turning off the fan. Sorry if you don't like that, click out now. You're also probably going to hear my 5-year-old come in here and ask me for popcorn for the 5th time today because that's one of the only 4 things that she'll eat, and she's deciding popcorn today. You're also probably going to hear my 1-year-old yell, and you're probably going to hear Blue's Clues in the background. I'm not a bad mom. They're chilling, they're vibing, they've been fed. I'm not neglecting my kids. I just want to make a video really quick. It is what it is. So, for those of you who don't know, because I know a lot of people from like real life watch my videos, I was born and raised in Scientology. I kept it a secret for like all through my childhood and most of my teenage years because like I had been told my whole life that people are gonna like judge you and they're gonna attack you and they're gonna suppress you when they find out you're a Scientologist because the world's out to get Scientology. So throughout my childhood, we went to the Memphis Mission, the Memphis Org, whatever the fuck you want to call it, from the time I was like a baby up until I was 8. Then my family had a falling out with the church and we didn't attend church. So I went from 8 years old to 22 years old, like my family practicing Scientology, like the principles, all of that, and just like, but we weren't actually attending church. At one point after I had turned 21, my uncle's best friend from when they were the Sea Org as teenagers, if you don't know what the Sea Org is, I'll explain that later.
Editing Trinity here. So I didn't actually explain what the Sea Org member is, what the Sea Org is, so I will now. The difference between a Scientology Sea Org member and a Scientology staff member is that a staff member signs a 2.5-year to 5-year contract, and a Sea Org member signs a billion-year contract. So Sea Org members are expected to like completely and totally dedicate their entire existence and their entire being to the cause. Staff members are expected to like put Scientology first, but they're controlled by the church, but not to the extent that Sea Org members are. Like, they literally have to eat when they say eat when, like, what they say they can eat, wear what they say they can wear, sleep when they say they can sleep. They don't get paid. Staff members do get some kind of pay. Sea Org members get paid, like, a very, very small amount, sometimes not even. So that's the difference. My uncle and this friend were in the Sea Org together when they were teenagers.
She reached out to my uncle and told her that she was in Tampa, Florida, and she had just gone clear at Tampa, and she was trying to get my family to come back. Well, not come back, but to come to Tampa. Long story short, basically all of my family ended up going to Tampa from Jacksonville. Me and my husband and my dog, my oldest, because my oldest went, and I was there from 21 until right before I turned 23, I think. So it was December 2019 when I officially left. Since then, I have opened my eyes to Scientology, and it's been like a huge wake-up call, and it's honestly been like mind-blowing. I have become kind of obsessed with Scientology and kind of obsessed with like cults in general, because I just found out like basically my entire life was a lie, and everything that my family believed, and just like I watched it all crumble right before my eyes. At 22 years old, I was almost 23, so I've like developed like this obsession with it, and I've talked about it in person to people, but I haven't really like talked about it too much online, because there's like this thing in Scientology where if someone in your life is considered a suppressive person, you have to disconnect from that person, or you have to disconnect from the church. And I still have family that's in the church, so I haven't like publicly spoke about it that much, but recently I've had a falling out with that family anyways, so now I'm kind of like at a point where I think I'm comfortable to talk about it. And I posted a Ask Me Anything about my time in Scientology. Hi, baby!
I'm making a video?
Yeah, I'm making a video. I forgot what I was saying. I did a Ask Me Anything, and it said I was born and raised in Scientology and I didn't leave until I was 22. Ask me anything. So the first one is, was it difficult shedding off the brainwashing? You're pretty much taught not to look for Scientology on your own on the internet. I'm gonna be honest, I'm probably at a slightly different angle because I had to stop and I forgot what I was saying, so I had to go back and watch the video, and I'm doing all of it from my phone. Anyways, so you're taught that online, you like everything online that you hear about Scientology that's not directly from Scientology are all lies, because they all want to bring Scientology down. But once I got out in December of 2019, all I could do was look online, and I felt like I finally found the truth online. And once all of my concerns and my doubts about Scientology were validated by other people's similar experiences, the brainwashing as far as like Scientology is the only answer and Scientology is gonna like save the world, that part wasn't hard to shed. The thing that's been most difficult for me to shed is, in Scientology you're raised that therapy and psychology and medication and even like regular ass doctors are like out to get you, and they're bad, and all they want to do is like put you on drugs and make you a zombie. And counselors and therapists, like all of it's bad. I know that as a kid and a teenager, as well as all of my other family, I know that we all would have benefited from actual professional mental health help. And as an adult that is no longer in the cult, I know that there are issues that I need to see a therapist about to make myself like the best person and the best mom and the best version of me I can be. And I want to, and I've already sought out steps to do so, but subconsciously I'm still like, there's still a part of me that's like, you're damning your soul if you go see a therapist. You're damning your soul if you end up needing medication, you start taking it. And I know that's bullshit. It's something that I have to like work through myself, I guess, if that makes sense. This person asked, have you found it easy to integrate into daily life, or are there little ordinary things ingrained in you that are a struggle to get past? Yes, and I will tell you the few things that are hard for me to get past. So in Scientology, anytime anything bad happens to you, it's because of something similar that you've done in this lifetime or one of your millions or fucking infinity past lifetimes that you've had. One of the biggest things for me was from November 2019 until February 2020, and this is a trigger warning, pregnancy loss. I was pregnant and I left the church in December. January 31st, I started having a miscarriage, and I went to at work, and I went to the hospital, and I was told that I had a really rare pregnancy called a molar pregnancy. And that basically, like, there's a partial molar, which is a baby that is growing a tumor, and then there's a complete molar where what you thought was an infant or a fetus is a whole molar like tumor. And I had a complete molar, and I was about 12 weeks. And my husband was on his way, but my mom was at the hospital with me. This was before COVID. And I'm laying in the hospital bed sobbing. And my first thought is, don't tell my aunt and uncle, because they're going to think that I did this. Meaning, they're going to think that something I had done in this lifetime, and I thought like me blowing from the church, leaving the church, was the reason that I had lost my pregnancy. And that what I thought was a baby was a tumor. So it's things like that. While I know rationally that shit happens and life happens, it's like anytime something unfortunate in my life happens, or something unfortunate in anybody else's life around me happens, part of me still thinks like, well, what did you do to pull that in? It's kind of like if you put out negative energy, you get negative energy back kind of thing. But it's in Scientology, it's a way to like control you and brainwash you, because they make you think that no matter what you do, you're bad. And Scientology is the only thing that can handle all the bad shit happening to you, because it's the only thing that can make you go back into past lives and resolve the bad shit that you did. Ooh, I fucked it up. Is that good? Okay, so this person asked, why exactly is Scientology so despised? I'm aware it's a cult, but I don't know much else about them beyond that. So Scientology is despised because, okay, you walk into a Christian church and you want to learn about Christianity, and they will give you a free Bible. They will sit down and they will dedicate their time for free to teach you about the religion. Scientology is not like that. The second you walk into a Scientology building, they are trying to sell you on stuff. We are literally taught as staff members to sell material. To sell Scientology. Like, that's literally all I did as a staff member was sell Scientology. It's despised because for something, Scientology likes to boast that it's not a cult because it's one of the, like, most open-minded and, like, welcoming places for people to come to. However, it's at a cost. Like, I was told that the reason why we don't help homeless people in downtown Ybor is because Scientology is there to help make the able more able. And that's pretty much saying to help people with money that can buy our materials become more able because they can give us money, if that makes sense. Like, it's a very money-hungry business. It is not, in my opinion, it is not a religion at all. It is a business. It is like, it's cult, like how like an MLM is. Like, it's all about money. Everything. Scientology is 110% motivated by money. They don't give a fuck if you're sitting there saying, I don't know how I'm gonna feed my kids this week. If they'll be like, if you don't know how to feed your kids this week and you're supposed to step up on another step on the bridge, they will manipulate you and go after you from every angle that they can to convince you that paying for this next step on the bridge is more important than paying for your kid to go on a fucking field trip for school or for buying like a good meal for your family to eat. Like, and I have watched it happen. It happened to my family. It happened to me. Like, I'm not even gonna lie. It like, they manipulated me and almost got me and my husband in $60,000 worth of debt. So Scientology, from what I've concluded, they're despised because of how money hungry they are and how selfish they are, and it's very greedy. L. Ron Hubbard, the founder and the now like person, like the Pope, the equivalent to the Pope of Scientology, David Miscavige, very greedy, fucked up people. Very selfish, very abusive. Okay, this person asked, at what point did you start to realize something was off/wrong? I will say this, so Sea Org members literally dedicate their entire life 24/7 to Scientology. They do it for about $30, $50 a week. Staff members at that time were getting paid. We were getting paid good. Like, me and my husband at one point, because we were both on staff, were getting paid like $800 a piece every single week. And how they were able to achieve that was because they would suck their rich members dry. They target people with money, and then they go after like the middle class, lower middle class for like the basic courses and to like get them to take loans and stuff out. So what the registrars would do is they would go after these, like, their members, and they would suck them dry, and they would get their members to like get bigger loans out and bigger lines of credit out for the lower middle class members so that they could go up the bridge. And then what would happen is these lower middle class people couldn't afford to make these $600 to $1,000 payments on these loans that these rich members brought up. So the rich members' credit started getting fucked because the payments weren't being made. And the church, and they would start like coming at the church, and the church ended up having to like cut a whole bunch of people checks to pay them back because the lower middle class people couldn't like pay for it. Like, it was illegal. Like, I don't know how to say that. So after Scientology had to like cut so many checks, they pretty much told the registrars that they could not do that anymore. And because Scientology doesn't really have any new members coming in, so they have no new income, and they weren't able to suck dry all of their current members, they quit being able to bring in GI, their general income, or gross income for the week. Therefore, they had no money to pay the staff members. So when they quit paying us and were still expecting us to work 7 days a week and work just as hard as we were when we were making money, and then we had to get second jobs on top of that just to survive, but they were getting pissed off at people who would be at their second job later and would come to staff later. They would get pissed off and say the church is your top priority. The church has to come before anything else. The church comes before family. The church comes before your job, your moonlight. That's when I knew something was wrong, because that's just cruel to ask that of people. my brother, my oldest brother, right around the time that they quit paying us, he came up to me, and I was already having like doubts, but I didn't want to admit it because my uncle was super proud of me, and my uncle's like super into Scientology. He was like my dad, but he was really proud of me, so I was trying really hard to like stay positive and stay like optimistic about it and not like completely turn my back on it, even though I felt like in my chest that something was wrong. My older brother came up to me and he was like, did you know that David Miscavige, again, David Miscavige is like the Pope of Scientology. He took over after L. Ron Hubbard died in 86. He came up to me and he said, did you know that David Miscavige had a wife and that nobody's seen or heard from her since 2006? He was like, people think she's dead, people think David killed her and all this crazy shit. And I was like, no, that's like, you're full of shit. That's, no. And I then was on YouTube later on that night and a video popped up about Shelly Miscavige, and I wanted to watch it so bad, but I ended up like hiding the notification so it wouldn't pop up again so I wouldn't be tempted. The next day, me and my like co-worker who worked in the same office were working, and we started talking about like L. Ron Hubbard and his family and like his kids that are still in Scientology, his son that committed suicide in a desert, but Scientologists believe that like he was, the IRS like paid a hitman to kill him, but he committed suicide. And we were like, I started asking about David Miscavige because I worked with David Miscavige's twin sister's daughter and another one of his nephews. They worked at Tampa with me. So I started inquiring about his siblings, and I started inquiring about his dad, Ron Miscavige, who, like, if you know anything about Scientology, in like his 80s, he blew from Scientology, wrote like a book and an expose on like his son and all this crazy shit. And I was just asking a lot of questions, and she was answering them, but she started getting like really hesitant. And this woman, I love her to death, but she had been in Scientology since the 70s. So I was asking her, and she was answering them, but she was being very careful about how she was answering my questions, and she was being very standoffish. And I was like, oh, so was David ever married? And she literally, like, hang on, let me show you. Hang on. Okay, so she said, I mean, she wore glasses, that's why I got these on. But I said, was David Miscavige ever married? And she did this, and she looked at me, and she said, why are you prying so hard? And I told her I was just curious. I wanted to know about, like, our leader, basically. And she said, but why does it matter? Why do you want to know so bad? It was just very, like, automatically, as soon as I asked about Shelly, it was like, or if he had even been married, I never even said her name. There was just, like, this wall that came down. And I was like, I just was curious, that I just wanted to know. And she said, huh. Put her glasses back on, started tapping on her computer, and we didn't talk for the rest of the day. So when that happened, that was when I was like, okay, this is some fucking weird shit. I'm not into this anymore. This person asked, how well did you do on the E-meter? The E-meter is bullshit, and I'm going to tell you why the E-meter is bullshit. I think I have an E-meter in one of my mom's storages somewhere. I can make a video about it and show you guys this, but the E-meter is supposed to pick up on, like, spiritual frequencies. Like, your Thetan, which is your, like, ghost, your spirit, is supposed to, like, whenever you have these cans, if there's, like, spiritual discomfort, it's supposed to, like, show on the meter if it goes, like, this way or that way. I don't really know. I never got fucking trained on it. But I know that whenever you're doing auditing sessions, the only way for a session to end is if the needle floats and it just goes back and forth, like floating like this. And I hated doing sessions. I hated doing auditing. It was the most miserable thing I've ever done in my life. The whole time I literally would like bite my lip, like the insides of my lips, and like cut my lips off because I wanted to leave so bad. But I knew that if I like had expressed how badly I did not want to do this and how uncomfortable it made me, that I would get pretty much like flagged, and I'd have to do like a whole ethics thing, and they would think I'm like being suppressive because I don't want to do auditing, or they would be like, you don't want to do auditing because you're having to confront like a whole bunch of overts and withholds, which is basically a bunch of guilt and shit that you did in your past life or fucked up shit you did in this life. And again, I was like 21, 22. I was still like, I was like a young adult. Yeah, I was a wild teenager, but like from this point, I hadn't really done shit in like my current life that like, was bad enough for, like, this weird shit to happen. I don't know. Anyways, so they would sit there, and you'd hold the cans like this, okay? And they would be asking you a bunch of questions, and when it was towards the end of the session, they would, like, read off a list to see if, like, your needle floats. And I literally would say, when I knew I wanted to be done, I would sit there, I would look at the person, the auditor in front of me, but I would look just past them and focus my whole attention on, like, a point on the wall past them. And I would take a deep breath and relax my body as much as I could and barely hold the cans. And that would make my needle float. And I knew that if I did it exactly like that, it would make my needle float, and they would think that I'm happy, and they would think everything's fine, and then they would let me the fuck out of the auditing room. So, that's how I did on the e-meter. It doesn't work. It's kind of like a lie detector test. You can fuck with it. You can control what happens. They think it's like, they think they control it, and they think it's like this spiritual thing. It's not, bro. Like, it literally, the electricity from your body and, like, how, like, your grip on the cans determines, like, what the needle does, if that makes sense. If I can find my e-meter, I will make a video on it. I might have thrown it away. It might be in one of my mom's storages. I'm not sure, but if I can find it, I'll show you guys what I'm talking about. How has life been since leaving the cult? Been difficult for you? Okay, I think they're asking me, how has it been difficult since leaving and how have I been? Okay, so I left in 2019. When you get off staff because you sign like this religious contract, there's like this whole routing form that you have to do. And one of the on the routing form, something you have to do before you can go is a sec check, which is basically an interrogation. I didn't want to do this because I thought that it was bullshit that I had to go through this entire like routing form and do all this bullshit just to leave. By this point, I was done. My husband was off staff. I was ready to come back home to Jacksonville. I was very, very suicidal. I begged for help with these suicidal thoughts and I never got help. It was literally back into what crimes have you committed against Scientology to make you feel like you need to leave kind of thing, or to make you feel like you want to unalive yourself. That's like, that's how they twisted it on you. So I got sick of it and I packed up my kid and I woke up my husband who was sleeping on the couch and I said, we're going the fuck home. I can't do this anymore. Because I was on the verge of just done. I was about to be out this bitch. I went the fuck home. It was quiet for a couple of days and then I started getting phone calls and texts and people telling me I need to come back and I need to come back, and I would ignore them. They would reach out to my brothers would ignore them. They would reach out to my mom would be like, oh, I'll talk to her, like, because my mom was still in Scientology. She still really wanted to do Scientology, but she loved me more. She loved her kids more. What ended up happening was my grandfather and my uncle, who's like my dad, it's her dad and her brother, came to Jacksonville. They showed up at my mom's house and they were like, hey, let's go get breakfast. He had told them, I'm not getting in this truck unless you promise me we're not going to Tampa. They promised her. They ended up taking her to Tampa. She got to Tampa. She went immediately into ethics. HCO is the Hubbard Communications Office, and it's basically the principal's office, and ethics officer is basically the principal. And she went to the ethics interview and they interrogated her. The ethics officer interrogated my mom for like 2 hours, and it basically came down to them accusing my mom of helping me leave, helping me blow. She didn't help me. When you're on Scientology, when you're on staff and you want to leave staff, the only people you are allowed to talk to are the chaplain or somebody from HCO, and I did both of those things. And I was told in HCO that I needed to quit coming to HCO with all these problems because I was interpolating other people, because I was upset because I was broke, because I was upset because I was homeless, because I was upset because I wanted to go back home. And I felt like I was being a shitty mom because I was never with my kid, because I was there all the fucking time, and I literally would work outside of the hours that you were supposed to work to make these crazy fucking deadlines that they put in for us. Even after they quit paying us, they still were expecting us to produce while working other jobs to meet these fucking deadlines. But I was coming in with too many issues. I needed to stop. So I said, fuck that. And I started talking to my mom, because as soon as I started having these feelings of unaliving myself, I really started reaching out to my mom, and I was having like full-on mental breakdowns to my mother. So because I was telling my mom what was going on, the ethics officer was accusing her of like this, scheming this big, I just spit, but I was scheming like this huge plan for me to escape. And my mom was like, straight up, she called me when she was on her way. I had no idea she was coming. And my mom was like, cool, let me know when you make it to your brother's house. And they told her that either she disconnects from me until I come back to the church and handle my shit, or she's not allowed to come back to the church. And my mom has not been back to that church since. Since leaving, at first I felt like I was harassed. At first my mom was harassed. I had to tell people they better not show up to my brother's house where I was staying, because he is not like consenting to them showing up looking for me. They need to leave me the fuck alone. I went back one time, like well over a year after I left. That's a story for another time. It was really hard at first. And then I lost my pregnancy. I tried really hard to keep my relationship with my family members that are still in it, because right now it's my grandfather, my uncle and his wife, and 4 of my cousins. The oldest out of the 4 cousins doesn't talk to me. She's very much into the church. I miss her a lot. Other cousin, like, I still have a good relationship with my other 3 cousins. When they come to Jacksonville, when their parents come to Jacksonville, and they come with them to see my brothers, because even though my other brothers like drink, some of them smoke weed, some of them like they're living their lives, they are not into Scientology at all. It's okay that, like, it's fine. My aunt and uncle aren't mad at them. They don't think that they're fucked up people. They don't think they're bad parents. But for me, it's different. So their kids are allowed to go to their house and see them, but they are not allowed to see me. So that sucks. My uncle raised me. He's my mom's older brother. He raised me. Me and my uncle don't have a relationship anymore. The only hard thing about being out of Scientology is losing my family. It's losing friends that I had made while I was there, because I do very much care for them. I looked at my old Facebook the other day, and everybody from the church, even church members who weren't on staff, like, they deleted me, but they were all still on, like, my brother's and my mom's Facebooks, even though, like, they actively talked shit about Scientology and have renounced Scientology as well. But it's just like, it's a huge problem with me, and I think it's a huge problem. I think everybody's problem with me is I just don't shut the fuck up. When I get mad about something, and I get like passionately angry about something, it is a hill I will die on, and I will beat the dead horse. And that's their problem, is I just don't shut the fuck up. But that's like been the hardest thing, being my own person again, going from being homeless and having nothing going for me, to me and my husband getting our own place, getting 2 vehicles, getting good paying jobs, having our rainbow baby after the loss of our pregnancy. And we have a very beautiful life now. It was like, we had a good relationship beforehand, even though people would tell me all the time that, like, people would try to manipulate me into thinking that, like, my relationship with my husband was fucked up because my husband really wanted to come back to Jacksonville, and they thought that he was the reason why I was, like, distancing myself from Scientology and wanting to get off staff. And it was like, it was both of us. But so I had people trying to, like, break up me and my husband, and I didn't let that happen. Towards the end, whenever I got out of it, I pretty much would tell people to fuck off. We have a very beautiful life now. We have a very beautiful family. We have done so much. I'm sorry, my phone died. I had to unplug the microphone from it so I could charge it. So the audio is probably gonna sound different these last few minutes. So, in conclusion, leaving Scientology was hard. I lost friends, I lost family, but me and my husband both gained independence, and I gained the ability to stick up for myself. I used to be terrified to stand up for myself to my family. Scientology aside, me and my family have a lot of issues. Whose family doesn't? But I wasn't able to speak my truth and stand up for myself to my family. I have since found the courage to do so since leaving Scientology, and it's resulted in I've lost family members, but I wouldn't change anything. I know in my heart that my family's going to come around. I know in my heart that eventually they're going to see Scientology for what it is, and when they do and they need somebody, I'm still going to be here. I can forgive them, and hopefully we can repair the damage that Scientology has caused. not just Scientology, but just other things in general. But yeah, that's pretty much it. If I can like link my Twitter, if you guys have any other questions or anything, you guys can like message me or DM me. Sorry, I'm like new with all this, but if you guys have any other questions, you can DM me on Twitter and I can make another video about it. It doesn't have to be like an Ask Me Anything kind of format, but I can like do more of an in-depth video on certain things. I have plenty of stories. I have plenty of like just personal experiences as far as like disconnection, and then there's like this thing called a ComEv, which is basically you go in front of like the courts of Scientology. I had to do that. I don't know if I'm actually declared a suppressive person. I will be after this. I know I will be after this, and that's fine. I've accepted it. My daughter, my baby, come here. Ugh. This is my baby. This is Lucy. She is hanging out with me while I finish this up. But you guys just let me know what you want. I'm really sorry that I'm like very fast paced in a lot of this. I am sorry that this is kind of like all over the place. It was spur of the moment that I literally decided to do the video now because of how good the lighting looked in my bedroom. It's like, it's a pain in the ass having to set up the fucking ring light and shit. Like, it's a pain in the ass. But if you watched it, I appreciate you. It's a lot. Me being able to sit here and like talk about this, it's a lot. So I really appreciate you. Again, follow me on my social media. If you have questions, ask me those questions, BB. I will make another video. I like to sit down and just like talk about what's on my mind, like, because I write scripts and stuff for my other videos, but for me it's a lot more easier just to like be myself on it. So I have to find my flow. This is definitely something that I like to do. This is my hobby, but I have to like find my flow. Jimmy, do you want to say hello? Do you want to say hello? This is Dubes. This is my homie Dubes. Say, I'm turning 1 on March 22nd. He has the same birthday as my husband. He was born on my husband's 30th birthday last year. So he will be 1 year old on March 22nd. Yes, he will. And my husband will be 31. This is my baby boy, the only boy. Him and my husband are the only boys in the house, run by all girls. Yep. All right, I'm gonna wrap this up and I'm going to edit this and I'm going to post this, and I want you guys to interact with me and I want you to ask me questions, and I want to talk more about this subject. I really do. I'm really glad that I'm doing this. All right, to anybody that's watched, even if you skipped through a whole bunch, thank you so much. Even if you like watched a couple of minutes of it and clicked the fuck out and you're not here anymore, okay. Thank you. Anyways, thank you. I love you guys. I will be back as soon as I can think of something else I want to do. All right, bye.